In this video, learn how to create more balanced scenic photos by blending two exposures to darken skies and brighten landscapes. One common dilemma amateur photographers face when photographing high contrast landscapes, such as sunrises and sunsets, is being unable to capture a perfectly balanced exposure in one image. You could use an ND graduated filter to darken the sky, but these can be expensive and also a faff to use. The best solution is to simply take two exposures and then blend them together subtly in Photoshop for a more balanced, natural looking result. You need a good tripod so it makes it easy to blend your two raw exposures seamlessly afterwards. We've also used a wide-angle 16-35mm lens to fit in a large part of the scene and the sky. Shoot in AV mode at an aperture of around f8 for good depth of field in the scene. Now once you've composed, you can leave your composition and focusing in other settings, and with your aperture still fixed to f8, only adjust the shutter speed using exposure compensation. To capture an image to expose for the brighter sky, our exposure here was 1/400th of a second at f8 and ISO 200. Now you need to take a second exposure for the darker parts of the scene. For the land and backlit building in our shot, our exposure was 1/80th of a second at f8 and ISO 200. Now you can open up your two raw images in either Adobe Camera Raw or Lightroom, and now ensure the white balance and colour temperature and other settings are exactly the same, but only making minor tweaks to things like the contrast and perhaps highlights and shadows. But don't change the exposure brightness of either image. Now open both images in the main Photoshop CC workspace. With the darker sky exposure image on screen, select all and copy, and then get the land exposure image on screen and paste a darker image on top to create a new layer. Alt-click on the new layer icon to add a black layer mask. Make sure your foreground colour is set to white, press D to default the colours if not, and then with the layer mask selected, you can use the gradient tool to paint a smooth gradient mask to reveal the darker sky. Now all you need to do is drag a line down from the top of the image to the horizon or the roof of the building in our case.